art can seem hard, right? So many techniques, styles, and concepts to wrap your head around. Luckily, there are a few core principles that lay the foundation for all those ideas.
Think of them as learning highways or speed boosters.
That makes learning smoother and more fun. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Kuo, a background painter and illustrator.
And I'm Yen, a happy creature designer.
And we'll be talking about some secret sauces that made art surprisingly easy. Let's start with you, Yen. What is your top pick for the number one thing that made learning art easy for you when you first started?
For me, it definitely has to be the power of the basic shapes.
Oh, how's that?
Well, when I first started learning to draw, I wanted to draw characters and animals, and I was intimidated by the complexity, but it turns out they can all be broken down into simple shapes.
Wouldn't it be more accurate just to copy what you saw?
Oh, we can do that, but if we cultivate the skill to simplify things visually, we can get there in literally 1% of the time while getting 90% of our drawings. Plus, imagine if you're copying little bits at a time, you could easily make a bigger proportional error by the time you finish your drawing and step back to look at the whole thing.
But what if you're drawing from imagination? Huh?
This is actually another power of the basic shapes. Being able to see things in simple components help me quickly capture and solidify the fuzzy ideas in my mind's eye.
What about 3D shapes? You can't break that down into simple squares and circles.
You totally can. There's nothing wrong with breaking down a 3D object into basic squares and circles. Alternatively, we can use 3D basic shapes like boxes and spheres once you're familiar with perspectives. What about you, Kuo? What was something that was like an aha moment for you when you first started learning art?
As an illustrator starting out wanting to do portraits, the big sigh of relief was finally learning about the simple algorithms for learning to see and measure things. For example, using angles and comparing sizes to establish the proportion of a figure or a portrait, or using grids to narrow down the complexity of the overall subject.
That seems like a whole lot of work.
It totally was at first, but the real power of having an algorithm is that you go through the same set of motion over and over. I got really fast and efficient at it.
Sounds pretty cool to have a keen eye for you to observe things accurately and efficiently.
Well, there's actually an even bigger bonus to this whole thing. For example, if there's an artist I really liked, I'll study him or her with copies, and my passive observation would automatically capture key components of what I like about these artists. It's like getting my personal Sharingan eyes, except I didn't have to kill my family for it. Now back to you, Yen. What's your second pick?
I think I was pleasantly surprised by how transferable my skills are.
What do you mean? Does it help you do your laundry?
Now, well, you know how when you are a noob and you're completely overwhelmed by the things you have to learn to draw?
Yeah, totally.
Well, I had to pick one thing to start learning, and as I learned one aspect of art and drawing, I noticed it would transfer to something else. For example, when I learned to draw the human anatomy, this knowledge of how a human's muscle would look transferred over to my animal drawings, at least the mammals one, and that is skill transferring across different subjects. And when I learned to draw realistic animals, it helped my cartoon animal drawing looks better, and that's across genre.
Oh, I see. I totally had that too, but across different mediums. Like learning inking helped my charcoal drawings.
It's like you're leveling up your fishing, but your strength, cooking, agility, magic, and fire making all go up 30% as well.
Yeah, actually, I'll piggyback off that idea for my second pick. I would say that I'm really impressed by the power of creating variants.
What do you mean, variants?
Okay, I don't really know what to call it, but it's the one trick that all the top artists on social medias do. It's almost like a requirement to be big on social medias.
Oh yes, them clicks and likes do tell. Precious.
It's something we all know. Basically, an example would be the power of the same face syndrome. or the same creature syndrome, where you draw the same face, character, or creature over and over and over again, but with slightly different accessories or variations.
And that's a good thing? Isn't that totally uncreative?
Oh, I think it's a really powerful thing. Basically, you have a core character or creature that you learn to draw extremely well and efficiently with different expressions from different angles. That alone cement all the fundamentals of drawing a head or a creature. You gain quick mastery of perspective, anatomy, and good line art, all the while doing something you really liked.
That still sounds like a bunch of the same with different sprinkles on top. What about bigger, real differences?
That's another part that's powerful about this approach. For each drawing, you have one part that you can execute really well, a solid base, so to speak. Then you have all the room to experiment without getting your confidence destroyed. On your existing character or creature, you can put new hair, new poses, new color, new composition. And as a matter of self-critique or diagnosis, if something goes wrong, you can identify the problem more easily.
Well, now that you put it that way, it's actually a triple gain.
What do you
Wow.
mean? Wow. Do tell.
Well, there's like a shampoo and a conditioner, and then you have this third tiny little bottle that you don't know what it is that comes with. Anyway, well, there's the two you mentioned, solid, targeted practice and fun experiments. But the third thing is that psychological safety net, which is super underrated, especially for us artists with glass level fragility.
Now that you're dominated by my awesome picks, you have to come up with a third one if you want to win.
I think you brought up a really good point that I think I would turn into my third pick, and that is repetition, which is ironic because you really wouldn't think of repetition as something easy.
Shabba-dua. I wouldn't. I wouldn't say repetition is a bad feature of art. Coming from a background in professional MBA,
Coming from the background of professional cage fighting.
coming from an athletic training point of view or meditative point of view, it's totally a good thing. I think that's one of the reasons I enjoyed art.
It really is. It reminded me of other non-art things I do over and over, like cooking curry waffle, which by now I can do on autopilot. The same thing can happen with making art.
Sometimes I'm doing a drawing exercises that I have done many times before. I can sort of autopilot or multitask with other things. Imagine leveling up your art while watching your favorite show. It's pretty cool to get your training to autopilot.
Well, it's like one of those vintage breakfast machine that toasts your toast and grill your bacon and cook the egg and coffee all at the same time.
So a quick recap, if you're new to art or struggling with it, look for these learning highways or speed boosters along your way.
Yeah, really capitalize on them. I used to have so many mental blocks against using these tools that really sabotaged my own progress back then. As hard as art learning is, what are some surprising things that made it easy for you?
What are some other speed boosters you haven't heard anyone talk about before? Share it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Remember to check out Yen's website.
And if you like this video, like and sub, and check out Kuo's other videos too. Bye! I swear those tacos, it was just beans, and then those sweet potato fries on top. They didn't even put on cilantro or sour cream. Like, what?